Hey everyone, and welcome to another special edition of the Ford News Podcast. He is Johnathan Ford. Follow him on X at FordJohnathan5. I'm Brian London. Follow me at MiamiRadioBeast. And we have to dive right in. Day 3 of the Democratic National Convention happened yesterday, so we'll talk about that. Some amazing speeches and moments last night. But first, Johnathan, our only interview that we've had here on Ford News was a Democratic candidate out of the 13th District of Florida over on the West Coast, St. Pete, Clearwater area. Whitney Fox was on with us the other day, and she won her election, and she'll be representing the Democratic Party going up against a lunatic on the other side. But we got to give props to Whitney Fox.
Yeah, congratulations to Whitney. When we spoke with her and gave an interview, her first conversation that we had with her was basically that she wasn't, I wouldn't really say she said she was worried about the Democratic field, but she said they weren't in her target. And she said the only one was, of course, the lunatic on the right. And that's where she stayed specifically with her topics. And it shows yesterday. I thought the race could be close. I thought it would be within a ballpark, but then to come up with, what was it, 58% of the vote or something when 99% of it was in. I believe it was 58.7, but and I was just like, she gave no indication that any type of internal polling showed that she was that far up. So it just shows that her only focus, even then, wasn't necessarily the primary. It was who's in front of her come election of 2024.
Yeah, and we are so excited for Whitney Fox. We know that big things are happening. The state of Florida is in play. And so we look forward to tracking that up towards Election Day. And we look forward to having more candidates on the show. I know we're lining some stuff up here, possibly maybe next week, the week after the convention is over. So we look forward to bringing you some of these great interviews that we can get here on Ford News.
Other huge wins out of Florida as well. I mean, Florida really there's a couple seats where they took back that they previously lost in 2016 and 2020, but there's others that they completely flipped entirely. So it definitely shows with what Whitney Fox says, soon to be Representative Whitney Fox, where she said that Florida is in play.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. And that's what I hear. You know, I've been jumping on a lot of these Zoom calls for the Democratic Party and the Harris and Walz campaign for the state of Florida, and all of the internal data does show that Florida is in place, so we'll continue to track it, and we'll continue to keep our finger on the pulse of the Sunshine State. But Johnathan, let's talk about last night, day 3 in Chicago at the United Center of the Democratic National Convention. Another big night, some huge names speaking. We went from Hakeem Jeffries, we got Oprah in there. I didn't even know she was speaking. Of course, we got Bill Clinton. The night ended with Tim Walz accepting the nomination to be VP, of course, and he gave an amazing speech. What were your takeaways from last night's Democratic National Convention, day 3?
Okay, first of all, day 2, 11.1 million views, up 52% from the DNC day 2 versus day 2, 7 networks. I know you're going to probably suggest that later on. You'll say ratings will be out later for day 3, but day 2 we had the ratings. My thoughts is Hakeem Jeffries, absolutely phenomenal. Tim Walz, absolutely phenomenal. His son probably stole America's heart yesterday.
No doubt.
We'll go in a little bit more detail with that. But my personal favorite was Amanda Gorman.
We gather at this hallowed place because we believe in the American dream. We face a race that tests if this country we cherish shall perish from the earth, and if our earth shall perish from this country. It falls to us to ensure that we do not fall, for a people that cannot stand together cannot stand at all. We are one family, regardless of religion, class, or color. For what defines a patriot is not just our love of liberty, but our love for one another. This is loud in our country's call because while we all love freedom, it is love that frees us all. Empathy emancipates, making us greater than hate or vanity. That is the American promise, powerful and pure. Divided, we cannot endure, but united, we can endeavor to humanize our democracy and endear democracy to humanity. And make no mistake, cohering is the hardest task history ever wrote. But tomorrow is not written by our odds of hardship, but by the audacity of our hope, by the vitality of our vote. Only now, approaching this rare air, are we aware that perhaps the American dream is no dream at all, but instead a dare to dream together. Like a million roots tethered, branching up humbly, making one tree. This is our country from many, won from battles won, our freedoms sung, our kingdom come has just begun. We redeem this sacred scene, ready for our journey from it. Together, we must birth this early republic and achieve an unearthly summit. Let us not just believe in the American dream, let us be worthy of it. Thank you.
She was absolutely articulate. Her speech was phenomenal. And I literally paused and I guess I shouldn't say rewind anymore. We're in the stream. I got to get with the technology here, Brian. But I kept going back and rewatching it just because of how captivating it was to me. And Brian, I'm going to say right now, she's my favorite throughout the whole DNC right now.
Oh, wow.
That's how articulate it was for me.
Amanda Gorman famously read a poem at Joe Biden's inauguration, and she is just an unbelievably amazing young talent. It was good to see her last night. Listen, there was a lot of standout moments for me. Pete Buttigieg, I think he's one of the best communicators that the Democrats have. Hakeem Jeffries,
seen me on Fox News.
Yeah, Hakeem Jeffries brought it in with some hip hop. And speaking of music, we got the great Stevie Wonder, and we got John Legend doing a tribute to Prince with Sheila E. Listen, there's no doubt about it. When you compare and contrast the DNC to the RNC, there's just such a different vibe, man. I mean, there could not be a bigger just trench of space between the two parties right now in the vibe that they're bringing to America right now.
No, yeah, it's absolutely without a question. You can see the difference between the two, and you can see the energy level, you can see the excitement, you can see the enthusiasm, you can see the emotion. There's crying, there's laughter, there's party, and there's high-fiving. Yesterday there was a family that came on and spoke about a family member being held hostage, and you could see that everybody was emotional about it, and that family actually didn't just call for the release of their particular loved one, but for the end of or ceasefire of the complete conflict and the return of all hostages. And you could see not only the emotion on the father's face, the mother's face, but when it went to the crowd, you can see that they were speaking for just uh not just for themselves, but for thousands that were in attendance of the 23,500.
Yeah, it was an emotional moment for sure. And to have the entire United Center chant "Bring them home" got tears to my eyes. To be honest with you, it was definitely an emotional moment for me and for everybody else. The other, when you talk about teardrops, we mentioned Gus Walz, Tim Walz's son,
Mhm.
when he stood up and basically yelled, "That's my dad."
When the phone had rang, and the absolute agony when we heard the treatments hadn't worked. It took Gwen and I years, but we had access to fertility treatments. And when our daughter was born, we named her Hope. Hope, Gus, and Gwen, you are my entire world, and I love you. I'm letting you in on how we started a family, because this is a big part about what this election is about. Freedom. When Republicans use the word freedom, they mean that the government should be free to invade your doctor's office. Corporations free to pollute your air and water. And banks free to take advantage of customers. But when we Democrats talk about freedom, we mean the freedom to make a better life for yourself and the people that you love. Freedom to make your own healthcare decisions. And yeah, your kids' freedom to go to school without worrying about being shot dead in the hall.
And you could see the pride that he had in his dad being up there accepting the nomination as vice president. The daughter Hope making the heart sign. Gwen Walz, the wife, the mom, being just so enamored with her husband. That family, man, that's America right there. You can tell they're a loving family. You can tell they just are so supportive of Tim, and the crowd chanting "Coach." Just all of it he was, listen, I know we differed on who should have been the VP pick. Josh Shapiro spoke last night, and he gave a great speech, and he's a great politician. It could have been Pritzker, it could have been Kelly, it could have been so many people. I think when it's all said and done, we will look back at this was the right pick.
Oh, absolutely. I'm dead set. And I was a huge Governor Andy Beshear fan. I just thought that that could bring in a lot of the independents that leaned Republican. I thought it'd bring in a lot of the conservatives. And I thought it would definitely bring in a lot more of the moderates. But about that family, Tim Walz, if you remember the video Brian was seen the day before of what his children were doing to him while he was up in the stands with the bunny ears,
Yeah.
and then to emotionally break down proud of their father, shows just the love that that family has to go from pranking what could be the future vice president, and then him responding with, "Oh, my family keeps me humble," and just laughing it off. It definitely shows that this family is genuine.
Yeah, when you contrast that to what we saw at the RNC, where sure there was plenty of Trumps in attendance, but it just looked like we're there to see a speech. There just wasn't the same emotion. And to me, look, obviously I'm progressive, and those are the values that I have. Those are the politics that I'm looking for. But I also want to I want to elect someone that represents America and represent family and true family values, not like fake family values, but true family values of empathy and love and caring. And this ticket, I mean, you look at the way that Doug Emhoff, his ex-wife, and Kamala
Yes.
all get along. The children all get along. We call her Mamala. She's making Sunday dinner. The ex-wife is over. We're all getting along. There's so much love. There's so much empathy. Like, that to me speaks volumes about who I'm going to be voting for.
Yeah, and I mean, you pretty much hit it on all of it. That she's endorsed and said she supports VP Harris as president. She said that she's loved VP Harris for years just because of the way she's treated their children, and that she is a co-parent and a step parent, and she would have it no other way because Harris is not only smart, strong, but she's also loving and compassionate while helping raise the children. Then you got Tim Walz, who's been dedicated to his wife his entire life. She's obviously went on X and says that she'd always loved Tim Walz, and she was glad that America, who in most part didn't know who Tim Walz was up until he was nominated, and that she's glad that America is finally starting to get to know Tim Walz, like Nebraska and Minnesota knows Tim Walz. So it's definitely, if you were going to take a picture of America and what it represents, and the colors, the contrast, the difference of religions, the difference in characteristics of the people, you would definitely take the Tim Walz family and you would take the Harris family, and you would take a picture of it, and that's the great representative of America, and that's why I love this ticket.
Yeah, totally agree with you. Tonight, day 4, the finale. Of course, it all wraps up with Kamala Harris accepting the nomination and giving her speech. We look forward to that. But I looked down the list of who is speaking tonight, and I feel like the entire Democratic Party, if they have not have already spoken at the convention, they will be speaking tonight. But and there's a lot of senators.
6 minutes tonight. Go,
yeah,
boys.
yeah, there's a lot of Congress people. There's a lot of senators. There's a lot of candidates. But the one I'm looking forward to is Gabby Giffords is speaking tonight. It looks like she'll be speaking just before Kamala, and we know what Gabby Giffords has been through, and I can only imagine the tears that will be flowing from my eyes when she gets up in front of that audience at the United Center. I'm looking forward to that, but it's going to be another huge night. There may be some surprises. We don't know. Is this Beyonce thing going to happen? We don't know. I know the Chicks, formerly known as the Dixie Chicks, are doing the national anthem tonight, because I happened to, as I was tuning in, hear them practicing. So I do know that, but there could be a lot of surprises in play. What are you looking forward to from tonight?
I'm definitely looking forward to Gavin Gifford. I mean, who wouldn't? But I'm also looking forward to the Tennessee Three, with Gloria Johnson, of course, Justin Jones, and Justin Pearson.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to them three. But I am also looking forward to Governor Gretchen Whitmer.
Yeah. Obviously the governor from Gretchen Whitmer has played a vital role in Democratic politics, and also, been threatened to be kidnapped and murdered. So that should be an interesting speech. The other one is Maxwell Frost, a congressperson. I think he might be the youngest member of Congress, is speaking tonight from Florida. He was a part of the March for Our Lives movement. And he's, I think he might be the first Gen Z member of Congress. So I'm looking forward to his speech as well. He definitely is a shining star in the festivities. One thing I wanted to say just about last night, because this was brought up, but I definitely agree. Something to keep your eye on if you're looking for like what's happening 8 years from now. Keep your eye on Pete Buttigieg and Wes Moore, the governor of Maryland. Keep an eye. One, they both served, and two, they're both amazing communicators, and 3, they're as hot as it gets for young members of the Democratic Party. So keep your eye on Pete Buttigieg and Wes Moore as a ticket down the line.
Brian, you're suggesting that could be a ticket?
Yeah. Yep.
I still think the next ticket will be a Newsom and Whitmer ticket.
Well, remember, I'm assuming that Kamala is about to serve 8 years. So we're talking 8 years from now.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking of who's younger now, but in 8 years is going to be perfect. That's what I'm doing.
Guys, here on Ford News, you just heard the next 24 years of the presidential elections sealed up. Republicans go home. We've already made up the minds of everybody in the U.S.
Yeah, yeah. There you go. Yeah, well, I think that's a good spot to end it. We look forward to tonight. We will be recapping tonight, so look forward to that. Hey, do us a favor if you're listening to this via podcast. Subscribe to wherever you're listening to that podcast, whether it's Apple, Audible, Spotify. If you are watching on YouTube, you need to absolutely obliterate that subscribe button, hit the like, and most importantly, make a comment. Interact with us. That'll help us so much. We appreciate all of you for sticking with us. We continue to cover the DNC, and we continue to take you up until November.